Great to have you along for the ride. Thanks a lot for stopping by. Glad to have this man back. The House Judiciary Committee Chair, it is Jim Jordan. Jim, how are you? Good to see you.
Same here, brother. Good to be with you again.
Also, District 4 Republican, great state of Ohio. Ohio in the news a lot lately, Jim. I don't know how far down the rabbit hole we want to go here, but let's talk about the overwhelming weight that Ohio's feeling from the influx of illegal immigrants who are now being called legal by this administration. Yeah. We know the weight of the services, at least. I know their diet's different. I grew up in South Florida. There are Haitians there. There are Cubans there. It's a little bit different. But having said that, let's talk about the services that the people of Springfield and surrounding areas aren't getting in Ohio because of this influx of people that were just brought here by the administration.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. The strain on your education system, the strain on your healthcare system, the strain on the housing market. I mean, this public services in general, that is huge when you think of 15,000, what most estimates are around 15,000 migrants from Haiti coming into a community of about 55,000 people. That would impact any community. So that's the concern, and that's what the citizens went to the city commission meeting to talk about. And this is happening as a direct result of the Biden-Harris policies, this temporary protective status where they've said if you're from Cuba, you're from Nicaragua, you're from Haiti, you're from those countries, you get in on this expedited way, and they just made this decision to allow it to happen, and it's not supposed to work that way, but that's what they've done. So they're quasi-legal, but they're here. And it's a huge impact on the community, as you pointed out.
Well, I think quasi-legal is true because with DACA we get it, deferred adjudication for childhood arrivals. It's still illegal. They're still here illegally, but they're kicking the can down the road, making them pay a fine every 2 years, and they get to stay here under some quasi-legal status. How do you do that with full, grown adults from Haiti who are just here? How are they stretching the laws to this limit? Were we not wise enough when we passed the laws to say, let's make sure they can't do this? Or are they literally doing things that the law doesn't cover?
Well, no, and understand, they even themselves knew this was a problem because they suspended the program that they started, that they did. So that tells you that even they understand. I mean, this administration, which on day one, by the way, I mean, we got to view this in the context of the overall context. Yes. Day one, they said, no more building the wall, no more remain in Mexico. You get here, you will not be detained, you will be released. 10 million, at least 10 million have entered the country in 3.5 years. And of that 10 million, we know, because we did our investigation on this and released a report, 99 of those 10 million were on the terrorist watch list and they were released into the country. Wow. So that's what this administration has given us on top of this specific program, which lets people from these countries come in at these basically they just get to come right in, bypass everything else, and they're here in a legal status is what the president has decided to do. So that is the concern, and it underscores this SAVEAct, Joe, which we tried to get passed this week on the spending bill.
It should have.
Yes, because it's simple. You go ask anyone. Hey, in a context of 3.5 million or 3.5 years, 10 million people coming in the country, 99 on the terrorist watch list, do you think it makes sense for some new voter who's signing up and registering to vote to demonstrate that they are a citizen, to prove they are a citizen? And everyone would say, well, yes, of course, except the Democrats in the House of Representatives. They voted against it, and we weren't able to get that on the spending bill.
It's Jim Jordan, the House Judiciary Committee Chair. We appreciate the time and the access. Jim, if Iran came out and if Russia came out, the leader of those countries came out and said, we want Donald Trump to win, what do you think the media would do with that? Because they've said they want Kamala Harris to win, and that's just fine.
Yeah. Well, Iran did more than that. Iran hacked President Trump's campaign and got the dossier on vice presidential candidate, United States Senator from our great state, J.D. Vance, got the dossier on J.D. Vance and gave it to the Biden campaign. We're investigating this now because, look, if that were flipped, if somehow Iran hacked the Harris campaign and gave a dossier to the Trump campaign on Tim Walz, oh my goodness, this town would be in an uproar.
Yes.
But no big deal. And how did that information get to the media? Did the Biden-Harris campaign officials give it to the media? How did it get to the media? Was President Trump given a defensive briefing when our intelligence services said, hey, Iran's trying to hack your campaign? I mean, I think those are the kind of questions that need to be asked. And more importantly, the answers to those questions, the American people need to know. So we're going after this thing hard because here we are now, 47 days before an election, and Iran's trying to help the Harris campaign.
Jim, if this happened the other way around, they would preemptively impeach Donald Trump. You know that, right? Before he even wins, they would impeach his ass. So it doesn't make. Listen, Iran has also said we want to assassinate the guy. Then you got a guy who tried to assassinate him last week, who wrote a book. In the book, he said, "Iran, please assassinate Donald Trump." Jim, are we living in a bizarro world? It's like you and I are in a movie right now. I don't understand what's happening around us.
Yeah, I think it is. It's in some ways scary, but thank the good Lord, it's still the best country going.
It is. I agree.
Yeah, but this Iran, now they're going after President Trump. They're going after former Secretary Pompeo, and they're going after Prime Minister Netanyahu. So I mean, this is how bad they are, and they're getting information and giving it to the Harris campaign. Go figure. And I want to know how that information got to, did the Iranians give it to the press? I don't know. It seems to me they gave it to the campaign. Somehow it got to the press. I'd like to know how that happened.
Because the press is complicit. I think it's a rhetorical question. It's Jim Jordan, House Judiciary Committee Chair, District 4 Republican, great state of Ohio. We're in your district every night with our show. We appreciate you coming on today. When we talk about the assassination attempts on President Trump, do you feel satisfied you've gotten any answers as to why it's been so lax twice now?
No,
the protection of
today
him?
The acting secretary today did his press conference, and I think he talked about complacency and deficiencies. That's the understatement of the world.
Yes.
I mean, former President Trump was 2 months ago was shot in the head. Corey Compratore is no longer with us because he was killed by the assassin. Two other Americans were injured. I think to say that there was deficiencies and complacency, I think that's kind of, like I said, a big understatement.
Yes.
Now, again, I think the agents, as President Trump said, the agents on the ground, particularly this past week in Florida, President Trump said they were great. They protected him, and then local law enforcement, President Trump thanked them as well for their good work.
Right.
Let's hope the task force gets to the bottom of this. Yesterday, we passed, on the floor, we passed legislation that said that the same kind of enhanced security protection should exist for President Trump that Vice President Harris has.
Yes.
We think that's important. Rare bipartisan moment on the House floor where we all agreed that makes sense. So those are the good things. Let's just hope the task force is able to get the answers. I think they will be able to. I know that the people on there are working hard, so we need answers to some of these important questions. And maybe, Joe, just as importantly, or almost as importantly, I want to know why they lied to us.
Yeah.
The day after the July 13th attack on President Trump, the attempted assassination of President Trump, the Secret Service said this is a direct quote, absolutely false. That's a term that is absolutely false that we denied President Trump's security detail the resources they requested. Secretary Mayorkas the next day said the same thing. And then 5 days later, they said, well, actually, we did not give them some of the things they asked for. Well, It can't be both. So in other words, they lied to us within a 48-hour time period after that attempt on President Trump's life back in July. They're not supposed to do that. So we need answers to that as well. Why did you lie to we the people?
Yeah, and they continue to do it. I mean, Mayorkas and Biden both lied after the first attempt because they said he'd get a full complement. Clearly, he did not have the same complement that, as you said, Vice President Harris has. It's Jim Jordan. I want to talk before you have to go. I know you're in a hurry today. The No Censors on Our Shores Act. We know that we had a complicit social media platform apparatus that was working with the Biden campaign, working with Obama, working with Clinton, the DNC, whoever the hell it was, to take down what Jim Jordan said and Joe Pag said and conservatives out there said, take down the Hunter Biden laptop story. They were directing people to not learn what they needed to learn to effectively vote in an election.
Yep.
Are we safer now, Jim?
Yeah, we are. And we know all that, not because you said it, not because I said it. Mark Zuckerberg said it. He wrote us a letter. And he spelled it out. Biden-Harris administration tried to get me to censor. We, in fact, were pressured to censor. We, in fact, gave into that pressure. We also throttled back the Hunter Biden story. I mean, he just laid it out in a letter as a result of our investigation where we interviewed 12 people from Meta, digging into all this and this whole censorship industrial complex.
Yes.
Here's what I think is interesting. I think we're winning. I think we're winning on this. Think about this, Joe. Did you ever think Donald Trump, Elon Musk, RFK Jr., and Tulsi Gabbard would be on the same team?
Never.
They are on the same team because they care about the First Amendment. They care about our free speech rights, our ability to speak, to talk, and have debate, which is a hallmark of Western civilization and certainly a hallmark of the greatest country ever, the United States of America. If we lose that, and I would argue, Democrats always talk about democracy's on the ballot. What's really on the ballot is our way of life and our ability to talk, our ability to have free speech rights and protection of the First Amendment. That's what's on the ballot. And that's why Elon Musk, RFK Jr., and Tulsi Gabbard are on President Trump's team.
Well, I agree with you. 4 years ago, none of us would have said that. Even those people that you mentioned wouldn't have said they'd all be on the same team. We know that the Hunter Biden laptop story, had it not been suppressed, that Trump wins by as many as 10 points. We know that Tulsi Gabbard is now being followed around when she flies around because she dared debate openly Kamala Harris on a stage for the Democratic nomination. What are we doing about that? Where this guy who attempted to kill President Trump a week ago was not on the radar, but Tulsi Gabbard is. What do you know about that? Anything?
Well, we're looking at that too. We got so
She's
many
on a watch list. She's a lieutenant colonel, for God's sakes.
I know. And Tulsi we had Tulsi come in and testify.
Yeah.
We had RFK Jr. I talked to RFK Jr. a couple of weeks ago, and I said, when we had you to come in and testify over a year ago, I said, I took some heat for that. I mean, what's Jordan doing bringing in Democrats to testify in front of the committee? But I brought him in because they care about the First Amendment. And I told RFK Jr., I said, we look like geniuses now because now we're all on the same team because we understand the threat. So, yeah, we're looking into Tulsi's situation as well. RFK Jr., Joe, said something in our hearing that he also said in his speech endorsing President Trump. And it stuck with me. It stuck with me a year ago when he testified in front of the committee. He said, when you look at history, it is never the good guys who are for censorship. It is always the bad guys.
Yeah.
And that is so true. And we need to understand that there's a lot of important issues to be dealt with, but this one is at the top because if you don't have the right to speak, and not be afraid or scared of speaking out. If you don't have that right, you can't practice your faith. You can't share your faith. You can't petition your government. You can't change policy. You don't have a free press. You don't have all those fundamentals that make America this greatest place ever. So God bless these people who are helping President Trump. President Trump supports the First Amendment.
And so do you. And God bless you for looking out for Ohio, your district, and the entire country. A masterful job as the Judiciary Committee chair. I know that there's a lot that you still want to do, and hopefully you can continue that work. And thanks for looking out for us, Jim. Thanks for making time today. I really appreciate you.
Thank you, brother. Take care.
All right, my friend. We're back after this. Stay right here. Masterful. Thank you, Jim.